Davante Adams said bye-bye Green Bay and hello Las Vegas. It was another bombshell in the NFL. I'm Jennifer Piacenti with Sports Illustrated, and to help us break this down via fantasy angle, we've brought in our senior fantasy analyst, Michael Fabiano. Fabs, I did not see this one coming. I mean, I kind of thought once Aaron Rodgers signed, I knew that he said he wouldn't play on the tag, but I just kind of thought they'd work it out. But here he is. He's going to be reunited with his Fresno State QB. Looks like they're already having fun together on Instagram. So what are the fantasy implications for Davante Adams in Las Vegas?
I think it hurts his value. And nothing against Derek Carr. You know, they've got a rapport together from their time in college at Fresno State. I mean, they put up bananas numbers, but that was college. And Derek Carr is a downgrade from Aaron Rodgers. And you also have to keep in mind, and you know how much, Jen, I love these trends. No Raiders wide receiver has scored more than 269.4 fantasy points in a single season since 2000. Now, I get it. Adams is better than maybe every wide receiver that they've had in that time. He probably is. And he's still going to be a top 10 fantasy wideout. But before the trade, I was thinking of making him number one ahead of Cooper Kupp when the Rams signed Allen Robinson. Now, I'm not sure if Davante Adams is going to be in my top five. He's going to be very good,
Wow.
but I don't know that he's going to score over 300 fantasy points, which he's done in 3 of his last 4 seasons.
Wow. Well, that is interesting because, yeah, he isn't the clear alpha the way he was in Green Bay. But let me just run these stats by you and see if they turn your head. Derek Carr had the 4th most completions last season, more than Josh Allen. Derek Carr had the 5th best completion rate, better than Tom Brady. And he also had the 6th most yards per game. That's ahead of Aaron Rodgers. What do you think? If you don't think it's great for Davante Adams, do you think maybe Derek Carr might get a bump?
No question. This is the best set of weapons he's ever had, maybe ever in his life, right? I mean, when you've
Yeah.
got Davante Adams and Darren Waller and Hunter Renfro, that is massive for him. I think there's going to be a lot of high scoring games in the AFC West. I mean, that division is bananas good right now. And Carr last season was the QB 14. So I think he can easily push his way into the top 10 with the addition of Davante Adams and Josh McDaniels, now the offensive-minded head coach of the Las Vegas Raiders. This is nothing but good news for Derek Carr.
Absolutely. Well, let's talk about the other players in Las Vegas. How does this affect like Darren Waller, Hunter Renfro? Are you moving them at all in your rankings?
I'm going to move Waller down. Now, keep in mind last year, Waller and Renfro averaged 16 targets per game combined. That number is going to go down. Waller has been a star for most of his time in Las Vegas. And he's still going to be a very good number one tight end. But now you got to start thinking about moving guys like Kyle Pitts ahead of him. Travis Kelce, Mark Andrews are going to both be ahead of him. I'd have to move George Kittle ahead of him. I'd probably have to move TJ Hawkinson ahead of him. You know, he'll be in that Dalton Schultz kind of range. Still very good, but Adams didn't get paid all that money to sit on the sidelines and not get a boatload of targets. Now, as for Renfro, he was the wide receiver 10 last year. No chance he gets back to that. None, right? He's not going to be a number 1 wide receiver. He may not be a number 2 wide receiver from a fantasy perspective. I'm projecting him more as a high wide receiver 3. He'll still get his share of targets, but there is no chance that Waller or Renfro will see the same amount of volume and target share now that they brought in Davante Adams, who is going to get 150 plus targets easy in this offense as long as he stays healthy.
Let's break it down from the Packers side of the equation. Let's start off with Aaron Rodgers. You know, he just signed a 5-year deal, and now he's missing his number 1 weapon. So he's left with what? Alan Lazard, maybe Robert Tunyon. And the options don't look fantastic, but then there's a part of me, Fabiana, that thinks, you know, this is exactly the way that Aaron Rodgers excels. Whenever he has, you know, a challenge, he seems to like to prove it to everybody. That is, unless we're talking about playoff football, then obviously that doesn't work out so well. But what's going to happen here in Aaron Rodgers with Aaron Rodgers in Green Bay?
Well, he's been a top 5 quarterback in fantasy the last 2 years. I don't see that happening again. I'd say he's probably closer to the middle or bottom half of the QB1s right now. But the Packers are not done, not by a long shot. There are some really good free agent wide receivers out there. They could potentially bring in some of these guys. And they have more draft capital now because of this trade with the Raiders. And they should, and if they don't, I'd be really upset if I was Aaron Rodgers, use a couple, maybe even one of those first round picks on one of the top wide receivers in the 2022 class. So don't bury Aaron Rodgers just yet, folks. I mean, this guy is a multiple time MVP. He's a Super Bowl champion. He's been a fantasy star for the majority of his career. Keep tabs on what happens in Green Bay. They're going to bring people in. They will bring in weapons. They're still the best team in the NFC North, in my opinion. And also keep this in mind. Whoever the Packers bring in, who becomes the eventual number one option for Rodgers, could potentially be a big-time fantasy breakout or sleeper player, whether that is a veteran player who is coming off a couple of down years or a rookie. And we've seen rookie wide receivers come in and make a massive impact much more often in the last few years. So don't bury Aaron Rodgers yet. He is still one of the best quarterbacks in fantasy football. The Packers have some work to do, but I think this offense will look a heck of a lot different, say, over the summer than it does right now.
For more information on what's going on as things develop, because surely Green Bay will make some additions to their team. I believe Aaron Rodgers will still be a top fantasy option, and to see what else the Raiders do as well. Things are moving, things are changing. Visit us at si.com/fantasy.